diving board, which is a very wide fucking diving board to have two people standing abreast on it. No pun intended. And then they hold hands, jump into the water, and then once they're in the water, the young man starts kissing the old man's chin. And a young blonde woman is so turned on by this that she...
I have to stop you there. He doesn't just hold his hand, okay? He reassures him, it's all right. I'm going to jump in the water with you. But it's not said. It's communicated through the medium of film. All right. Now go on.
Okay. Thank you. A young woman is so turned on by the old man making out with the young man that she jumps into the pool in slow motion. And then they start making out, the young man and the young girl. And then basically everybody else, with a few notable exceptions, which I'll get to, everybody else jumps into the pool and starts making out and kissing necks and, going down on each other.
There's some biting, there's some going down on each other. Not graphically, but, suggested.
The people who don't jump in, one of the people who is playing an inexplicable card game where you just pile all of the cards randomly until someone gets to the Joker, at which point they win.
They were playing a really elaborate game of Snap, where the rule is, once the Joker is played, you then slam your hand down on this giant pile of cards and win.
And then throw them all on the floor.
Yeah,
one of the people playing that didn't join in. One of the people playing it did.
Yeah. They have beards, and one of them jumps in. The other, he tries to persuade the other guy to come too.
Yeah.
But he kind of he kind of swats at him like, no, I'm not into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Full orgy. He doesn't jump in. The fat woman eating the French fries.
Who we close with. We close with the fat woman who's pounding mayonnaise like it's nothing.
Well, hold on. There's an important plot point. Other than the people who don't join in, the leader of the neck chain gang that forced him to jump off the high dive, he's the last guy to jump in. Like, he's trying to persuade other people to not jump in, but they do anyway. And then finally, they wear him down and he jumps in as well. And I think him and the nerdy guy actually make out right after that.
Okay. I didn't remember that because they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of similar looking people in that.
But yeah, and then we close with the old man. Well, we close with the mayonnaise lady, but right before that, we see the old man get out of the pool and have this little smile, like, "Yes, victory is mine." Everybody's making out in the pool.
Love has been victorious over people's inhibitions and etc.
Mm-hmm. But
and fear of diving off 3-foot tall diving boards.
Well, I mean, that's obviously a metaphor for gay sex with men in a public pool.
Well, it's a metaphor for kissing him on the chin, but pretending that you're kissing him on the mouth while the camera angle tries to make it look that way.
Yeah. So, basically, I don't have a problem with young men making out with old men or anything like that.
There's a lot of man on girl.
What I have a problem with is the fact that it all looked so ridiculous that it was impossible to take seriously.
The pretense just really didn't hold up. I think you were you were on the movie's side for the first little part of it, but where it lost you was when he looks up at that daunting diving board, and then he's actually looking down at it because it's lower than he is.
Yeah.
Stands on the pool edge, and you're just like, is he allergic to water? Like, I don't understand why he's terrified.
Well, I think where the movie lost me was the opening shot of a toenail. I gotta be honest, as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is not going to be something I enjoy.
I thought maybe that was your thing. I thought maybe you had a filthy toenail fetish.
I was willing, if everything else was brilliant, to just forget the toenail. But that wasn't the case.
I love the size of her tweezers.
Well, she doesn't want to get that close to her toe. She knows how nasty it is.
She was not that gross. For an old woman, she was pretty standard looking. I don't know. I wouldn't say she was gross. I think that's a little insulting.
Was that your mother?
No, it wasn't my mother.
Then why are you defending that old hag?
My mother was in the other movie that played before that, the one where that guy's mother sexually shaves him in their cheap apartment kitchen next to
Oh yeah, we lost that whole
with
segment.
a straight razor.
Let's go over the plot of that one,
I
because
don't
that's
want
a
to go over
lot.
the plot of that one again.
That's just a much
I didn't
better.
want to go over the plot of it while I was watching it, because the plot didn't make any sense.
All right,
Terrible movie.
I'll do it then. I remember it.
Go on.
A young man's in his apartment. His mother is shaving him with a straight razor, with murder on her mind. But she does.
Thing is, in a movie, you know, when you're trying to make something look sexy, you might want to kind of have the setting look really good. Like, if someone's shaving someone, you want to have a lot of space around them, you know what I mean? They shouldn't look like they're cramped next to an island counter in the kitchen of a tiny apartment. And where they kind of, it's not symmetrical, and it's kind of like, we gotta kind of do this in the corner, and like, I was just expecting someone to like knock over the garbage can or something like that at some point, and just like, be like, oh, sorry, like kind of like a Tim and Eric kind of intentional awkwardness shot or something, I don't know, it was really bad.
If someone's trying to make a legitimate film, and your immediate thought is that it looks like something Tim and Eric made, that is a massive strike against it.
Like that. So far in the movie, she's been complaining about his fiance, but apparently she's gonna have dinner with him and his fiance later, and then it kind of cuts to her shaving him with a straight razor in their kitchen, and he looks super nervous the whole time, and then it immediately goes, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching this. Like, I'm watching this in a theater with a bunch of other people, and then it cuts to her going, oh, you're going to pick up your fiancé? You should use my car. And him going, I thought that the brakes were shot in your car. And I'm just like, no. Like, this isn't happening right now. Like, this is your foreshadowing of how he has a car accident. Him just saying, like, I thought the brakes were broken in that car. No. You're wrong. They aren't. Whoops. Then they were.
But he survives, but his friend gets hurt, and then she hears about it and is upset that he didn't die.
Immediately she's phoned about it. And then she's upset that he didn't die, so she immediately tries to commit suicide. Her lover grabs her wrists. She has a straight razor. That straight razor was now beside the bath for some reason that she was in. That was the other thing. Her lover comes over and starts trying to caress her, and then she's just like, let me take a bath first. They're struggling. At the time when I was watching it, I didn't know what was going on. Like, you have to understand how bad this movie was. Like, it couldn't communicate anything, because in hindsight now I realize what was going on, but while it was happening, I was just like, what the fuck are they doing? She's like struggling. He's holding her wrists. I thought she was attacking him with the straight razor. Like, she was so pissed off that she was just gonna, like, shoot the messenger of bad news. Like, oh no, my son didn't die. Fuck you, lover. Ugh, I thought she was just gonna try and get him. He's, like, struggling with her. She kind of sinks down a little bit into the bath while they're struggling. And then, suddenly one of her wrists is cut. Like, you can see that it's cut. And you're just like, how did that get cut? He was holding her wrists in his hands. Like, the whole time. But apparently she magically cut herself. And apparently in the universe of this movie, slitting your one wrist, you're immediately killed. Like, you might as well have just had your head cut off, because you just immediately die. And then, so he's just like, oh my god, she's dead. Magically, immediately from being cut on the wrist. He doesn't do anything to try and stop the bleeding or anything. He just kind of backs off and is like, whoa. And, like, he gets out of there.
So, okay.
And then it cuts to the
those two. He's supporting his friend who's grievously injured, and then they sit down, and then it's over.
They walk down the street in a completely flat, boring shot. They just walk down. They're really bad at acting that he's hurt. Like, they're like stumbling, but it's really like obvious that they're fake stumbling. And then they sit down in a bench, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, shouldn't they be waiting for an ambulance or something? Like, why are they walking down a long street?
Who called the mother about this accident if no one's there to help them?
But then not 911 or anything. Like, there's no cops and there's no ambulance. It's just two guys walking down the street. Like, I gotta get you to the hospital. The fastest way is if I carry you, kind of like supporting you on my arm. Like, there's no time to wait for an ambulance to drive us there. It made no sense. Like, I think they were trying to have kind of a, artistic, intentionally non-realistic setting of, like, this is a really kind of, like, symbolic situation. It's not a guy and his mom who actually live in our regular world and society. It's, like, sort of a, maybe sci-fi, or maybe, like, like, some kind of, like, weird setting, where it's not literal. It's just everything is kind of symbolic and stuff like that. Like, say a movie like Drive or something like that. There's a little bit of dreaminess there. Not everything has to make complete realistic sense. But the fact that everything looked so cheap, and everything looked so, like, the apartment that I live in, and, like, the streets that I walked down, like, I couldn't go there with them. Like, there was no suspension of disbelief. It was just like, wow, you guys filmed this near the Bytown Market. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, it was super rough.
Did you like Drive?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really good.
I thought it was well made, but I didn't love it the way that everybody else loves it. The plot is bad. The plot is ancient.
Like, the plot is really, really super simple. It's a really super simple concept, but it's just done really well.
I mean, yeah, I just wish that they had used a different story. If they were going to do something that well, then they shouldn't have done, oh my god, I pissed off the mob and I'm avenging a woman that I barely know because it's Sin City and that's what I have to do.
I enjoyed it.
And I'm a simpleton.
I enjoyed it as a film and as a visual kind of, like, showing of scenes. Like, I like a lot of the scenes. I like the scene in the elevator, and I like when the robbery that they do goes bad, and, like, stuff like that. I like all the driving scenes, and, like, when he's driving with her in the car, and kind of the way that it's set up. I like a lot of the things, like, she gets a call about how her husband's being let out of jail. You don't hear what the call is about or anything like that. She gets a call, and you hear the phone ring, and you hear her pick it up, and then it immediately cuts to her driving with him in a car, and then they're there for a while, and they're looking at each other, and then she tells him what that call was about. I like that, how that was structured. And things
I mean, that's good.
Choices.
It kind of bugged me how Ryan Gosling was Mr. Silent Man.
He never talks to anyone.
He just doesn't fucking speak.
Even when people ask him questions directly, sometimes he just looks at them and doesn't answer them.
I appreciate that that's what the character's like, but at the same time, not the most thrilling protagonist.
No.
I mean,
it's not an amazing movie, but it was so much better than so many other movies that get made that I really liked it. Again, I enjoyed it as a film, and I enjoyed it on a very visual and audio level.
Yeah.
I would not want to read the book Drive.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, if someone made a novelization of the movie Drive, I don't want to read that. Like, first of all, it would be about 3 pages, and then second of all, I don't want to read it. Like, but as a movie, it works. Like, I really liked it. The scene between Bryan Cranston and the guy where, like, he cuts his wrist.
Yeah.
That's you really feel that, like, that tension. You know, like, in, say, No Country for Old Men, which has a much better storyline, I would say.
Yeah, it does.
Not remarkably better, but
better.
It has a better storyline.
More complex.
That feeling of tension you get whenever Shigeru is on screen, like, it had a lot of that kind of stuff going on in Drive as well.
I mean, No Country for Old Men had an ending that you didn't see coming a mile away, whereas Drive did.
Drive, you knew how it was going to end.
You knew how it was going to end as soon as you knew what kind of movie it was. You know, like Spike dies.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Actually, it's kind of left ambiguous whether he died. You know what?
He didn't die. He drives away.
Did you ever see? Yeah, well,
Did
you ever see the movie?
He just leaves town.
You ever see the movie The American with George Clooney?
No, I never saw that. I saw parts of it while someone else was watching it, but I haven't sat down and seen it.
Well, it's Drive, but in Europe. It's not a good movie. It's not as well made, and the story is about as bad. But George Clooney plays a gunsmith who makes guns for